So my name is David Kuehler, and I lead an initiative, an innovation initiative at Procter & Gamble called the Clay Street Project, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. But what we believe at Clay Street is that innovation is merely a byproduct of coherent, healthy teams working together. A byproduct. So what I'm going to talk to you about today, or share with you, is the 5 threshold factors that I think are necessary to set a team on its proper course, or set the initial conditions. But before I do that, I actually have to go back in time so that we can go forward. So I'm going to take you back to the time of the Elizabethans, when Shakespeare lived and wrote. And he wrote some of the most beautifully dramatic plays of all time. And the people in his audience, he actually produced them at the Globe Theatre in London, and the people of his audience were very unique. They were royalty, nobility, and commoners who paid 1 penny to see the show. And when the audience saw something or a performance that the actor gave that was absolutely brilliant, it was just amazing, they gave that actor a gift. And it was a very special gift, very simple, but it was a great honor to receive it. And that gift was an apple. An apple. The symbol of symbols. Sexuality, fertility, the harvest, knowledge, the search for eternal youth, the cosmos, the struggle of being a human. And through those performances, what the actor did was, he actually, the line between the imagination of the theater and reality actually disappeared. So I'm going to take you forward about 200 years to the 20th century, where another great scholar lived and wrote, and his name was Joseph Campbell. And what Joseph did was he studied comparative religion and mythology. And he also wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And in that book, he actually talks about this idea of the hero. And that the hero actually goes through these archetypal phases to accomplish their goal. And for example, I'll give you a brief description of the hero and the hero's journey because he actually structured it. What happens is the hero starts in the ordinary world. And then he gets a call to action. And he leaves that ordinary world to accomplish something. He crosses the first threshold and meets allies, enemies, and tests. And then he goes into the innermost cave, where he has to deal with his own demons so he can start to think about how he might overcome external demons. And then he goes to the big ordeal, where he overcomes that villain. He grabs the elixir, makes his way home, and returns to his village. And I think that Campbell also touched on something I thought that was very interesting about why we empathize with the hero. Because the hero is us. Campbell said, "Life is the constant state of becoming, looking for the next higher self." I'm going to say that again. Life is the constant state of becoming, looking for the next higher self. This is why we engage in a hero's journey. This is why we want to learn the lessons of the hero as he goes through those struggles, because we want to be a little bit better in the process. So this serves as the foundation for the Clay Street Project. The lessons we learned from nature, the lessons we learned from the hero myth. So, what is the Clay Street Project? You're probably wondering. What we do at Clay Street is we will take a team, a multifunctional group, and give them a large challenge, a difficult challenge that they have to solve for the business. And they stay with us for about 10 to 12 weeks. And so during that challenge that they're trying to accomplish, they're also on a journey of self-discovery. So we will immerse this team, or these heroes, for about 2 weeks and prepare them for all the things they need to know for the journey. We'll give them the knowledge and the skills that they need to accomplish their task. So I'm going to talk about the threshold conditions. And actually, Michael said something a long time ago that he may not remember, that stuck with me. He said that if there's dissidence in the creation of a product, then there's dissidence on shelf. So the flip side for me is, if I want coherence on shelf, then there has to be coherence in the creative process, which goes back to my first point. The other thing that I've learned after doing many, many sessions with groups is you must create the proper initial conditions that match the journey you're asking them to take. And this is what I mean by that. If you're asking folks to just optimize, I'm not saying just, but to optimize processes, the conditions you set in front of them will be very different than if you're asking a team to go off and imagine the future of your business and the products and services for the next 10 to 15 years. So I'd like to spend the next couple of minutes talking about those 5 threshold conditions, and they are people, purpose, context, mentorship, and belief. So as many as you probably know, that getting the right people on a team is incredibly important. And if we translate that to the theater, they say, if you cast it right, the rest is crowd control. And it's true. And also another important thing is that we found is that the more that you invest in the health of individuals in a team, I have found the more fulfilled they are, the more creative they are, and the more productive they are. Investing in the health of individuals of the team. We also look for people that have an open mind, who are open to change, who are aware, who are compassionate, and who are wise. During that first couple of weeks that I mentioned, one of the things that we do is we train them to operate as a living system, where they're able to self-correct and self-regulate on their own. We also look for folks that know a lot about the business objective we're working on and people that don't know anything about it. I remember I was interviewing a candidate, and halfway through the interview, she said, "You don't want me on your team." Well, I said, well, why not? She says, "Because I hate the brand you're working on." I'm like, okay, you're on the team. And the reason I did that is because her candor and fresh eyes are exactly what that team needed to reinvent that brand. Okay? And she ended up being a wonderful contributor to that team.